Hello everybody and welcome to episode 12 of The Playground. I am Dana W. Violin and I'm the string section leader here on Played by Jellynote, and today it's just me. Normally this is also co-hosted by JC the Beard, the brass section leader, but today he is out of state and so will not be able to be here. So we're stuck with just me today. And today we're going to be talking all about how to avoid burnout, which I think is incredibly topical. Just at all times. I think that it's always an incredibly important thing to think about and be aware of and keep in mind. And especially at this time of year and at this time in everything that's going on in society as we're kind of coming out of COVID and everything like that. I think that is also a very relevant thing to take into consideration when thinking about burnout, because I know that I got extremely burnt out during, the initial time period of COVID. I know that is something that I really felt, and that might be something that a lot of other musicians can relate to as well. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about it. So burnout is basically, it happens when you focus, for example, when you focus on one thing for too long and everything else falls aside. This is not a dictionary definition. This is just me kind of making it up. But I have plenty of experience with it, let me tell you. And this can typically happen in an academic or career setting. This is where you see it the most. But of course, it can kind of happen anytime and about anything, unfortunately. But those are the two places where it is very prevalent. Those are kind of the two settings where it is extremely prevalent. And extremely so in academia, or at least that's my experience, arguably even more than in a career setting, because it's so much more specialized, so much less of a balanced lifestyle. We can get into that later. And another way that we can kind of think about burnout as well is it happens when you lose sight of your passion for something and you've been so exhausted by this thing that you can no longer find enjoyment or satisfaction from it in the same way that maybe you were previously able to. So, of course, we're going to be speaking about this with a focus on music, but this is relevant to anything. You can get burned out in many different skills, many different careers, and let's talk about how you can prevent that. And if you are already burnt out, if you're experiencing forms of, fatigue, exhaustion, all of those things that are kind of relating to this specifically. There's a lot of reasons you could be fatigued or exhausted, but anyway, if you find yourself really experiencing the symptoms of burnout, what you can do about them. So first off, to be able to avoid it as best as you can, the best way to do that is to maintain a balanced lifestyle. So instead of just, from morning until night, just working on this thing, it's an exaggeration, doesn't have to be that long, but instead of devoting all of your energy to this thing and pushing yourself so far past when you are tired and when you are exhausted, that's not great. So instead, do your very best to have a more balanced life, balanced lifestyle. That means getting enough sleep, eating enough, having enough water, getting outside, talking to friends, doing things for fun, all of those great things, right? I've always found in my personal experience that the more that I'm able to do that and the more that I'm able to kind of engage in a better, well-rounded lifestyle, the less that I kind of feel those effects of burnout, because you're distracting your mind. You're able to do different things, of course, as opposed to when you pretty much only exclusively think about this one thing. That is what can lead to burnout and stuff like that. Man, I'm going to say burnout a lot this episode, so my apologies in advance. Another thing that is a fantastic way to stay engaged in your activity and to keep it holding your interest is to try and always connect with what made you love it in the first place. So specifically, we're talking about this in the context of music. Say you got into music because you really love a particular artist, a particular style, a particular skill. There's a million reasons why people get into music, right? And trying to stay connected with that thing that made you love it in the first place as much as possible could be really, really helpful, because then if it ever starts to feel too much like a burden, either again academically or professionally, then you are still able to connect to that thing that made you love it. And that makes the whole experience feel so much better in my personal experience with this. But that might not be an option for you. You might not be able to connect with what made you love music. For example, for me, I don't know. I started when I was really, really young, and it's kind of all that I've ever known. Well, that's an exaggeration, but I have, what I mean by that is that I have always been doing music, right? And so I don't really know what started it off. And if I did, I wouldn't be able to relate to that really, because I was, 3 years old when I started, again, allegedly demanding to play the violin, as my mother likes to say. So if that is not something that is possible for you to get to connect with what made you originally love it, try to find other fun and unique ways to engage with it. Say that you always, for me, for example, say that you always play one instrument, that's your thing, that's how it works. Try branching out into composing. Try branching out into a different style, or, learning a new instrument, or all of these other ways that you can kind of tap back into your creativity and into the learning process can be really, really helpful, because that can kind of alleviate, all of these things can really help alleviate the stress of just specializing and doing one thing all the time, which is what can really cause burnout, exhaustion, not wanting to do these things, all of that, right? That's not even beginning to describe the symptoms of burnout. I know that I'm not doing an incredibly fantastic job of that, but my point still stands. And of course, burnout also feels different for everybody, right? Everyone has very, very different feelings that are associated with it. And some of them, a lot of them, are very, very intangible, right? There's the physical things that you could see where, I'm sleeping a lot more or maybe a lot less. It's affecting your sleeping. That's what's so hard, is that it affects people so differently. There's no one way that you can identify it. But yeah, if you identify those factors, your sleep is different, your eating habits are different, your mental state is incredibly different. That can kind of be your indications that you are burned out, right? And of course, another fantastic thing that you can do is you can consult a mental health professional. JC and I, of course, are huge proponents of that. If you've ever watched our show before, that is an incredibly valuable thing to both of us. So yeah, finding some sort of therapist, counselor, whatever kind of support you have in your life that you tend to turn to for mental health related things, or something that you are interested in, that is a fantastic thing to do, to have an outside source also helping you, in addition to just trying to fix things up yourself, right? I really should have mentioned that at the top of the episode, but here we are. At least I said it. But that is another fantastic thing that you can do. And I want to talk about now what you can do if you are already burned out. And this is, again, all of this is really speaking from personal experience as well as what I have seen others go through. Because I got, like I was kind of referencing earlier, I got incredibly burned out in my undergraduate degree, which happened during COVID. There was overlap there. And that is what really, 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 really burned me out. So those activities are some of the things that I would have liked to engage in if I were more aware of them, and if I had, frankly, more mental energy than I actually did at the time. I would have loved to engage in more of those activities, but sometimes it is not always possible, especially like we're kind of saying here, especially we, so used to co-hosting, especially like I'm kind of saying here, that's new, that this can happen a lot in a professional or an academic setting, right? And the thing about those settings is that it could be very hard to take a break from what you're doing. Of course, that's one of the best ways that you can prevent burnout, is by taking a break from it, but that's not necessarily something that's possible. It wasn't possible for me because that was my degree. I couldn't really just take some time off from my degree. I mean, I could have done it in a more formal way, but I couldn't have taken like 2 weeks off or whatever. That wasn't an option. And that's not an option for so many other people who are in so many other circumstances. So let's talk about what you can do if, for whatever reasons, you are already burning out, you're experiencing those symptoms. This is some stuff that you can do about it. First off, like I was saying earlier, if you have the ability, the best thing that you could do is to rest and take a break. Of course, not everyone can do that, but if you are able to, that's a fantastic thing that you could do. That's kind of been one of the main things that I have been doing to sort of take care of my burnout. I graduated in April with a degree in violin, and I really haven't played it since then. That doesn't mean that I'm never going to play it again. That's in fact very far from the truth. I'm absolutely going to play it again. But it hasn't felt right for me to start doing it again. It hasn't felt right for me to engage in that activity just yet, because I know that if I do, I'll just start feeling the pressures and the stresses that I put on myself and that were externally put on me during my undergraduate degree. So that wouldn't really be right. So personally, I am taking time off from exclusively playing, and fortunately a lot of my work is not exclusively performing at this stage. I'm taking a break from the performing aspect of my career to do some more, some other things, composing, arranging, teaching, this. So that's something that is really working for me, is taking a break, because I, for the first time, am actually able to do that. It's not possible for everybody. So if that's not possible, what you can do is you can engage in other activities. Just like we were saying earlier, having a well-rounded life, having a well-rounded social life, physical activity, mental health, mental well-being, self-care, all of those things, those are all, I know that's a lot of buzzwords, but they're relevant, I promise. Because those are the ways that are best to, avoid burnout or to take care of it if that is already happening, is, taking a rest and keeping everything very well-rounded. And you could also try and find joy in other things as well, which I guess really is related to the point that I was just making. But the more that you are able to connect with the joy and excitement of music making, specifically as we're talking about here, the more that you're able to connect with the joy of the process and the fun and the love and all of those wonderful, warm, fuzzy things, the better that you're going to feel. And the more that you take care of yourself as a person, the more that you will really be able to dive into music in whatever setting that you do. The more that you take care of yourself as a person, the more that you will be able to kind of give to your musical life. So those are the best things that I can really think of about how to avoid burnout. That's certainly not a comprehensive list, but these are the things that have been really good in my experience, which I know either by doing them or by having a profound lack of them. That is what has been really meaningful to me. But that's what I have to share. If anybody here, if any of you have any experiences, any things that really, really help you with burnout, feel free to share. You can either unmute or you can type in the chat, of course, if you have anything that really helps you stave off burnout or anything like that. If you have experiences about it, go ahead and share if you would like to. Gonna check the other chat as well. All right. And somebody's typing. I'll give you a moment. Have a coffee break. It's very odd not doing this with anybody else. All right, here we go. I have an experience with burnout, not necessarily how to deal with it, but how it helped me. Sure, you can feel free to type about it here, or you could also unmute if you're in a good physical location to do that. Whatever works best for you is great.
Okay, so I can unmute and talk about my story with burnout.
Of course, please do.
Yeah. Actually, what burnout did to me is something really quite amazing. It has a lot to do with music. So actually, when I was starting with music as well, how I did that is I have started attending an art school. It was not like official art school, like full time. It was like part time together with a normal grammar school. I was 6 years old when I started, and I was studying an accordion for 3 years on this art school. And after the 3 years, I got really bored with accordion, even though I loved it at the first year. But it got so repetitive, so obnoxious to be going every week and to needing to learn new songs so often. It was all the same and all so tedious for me. So I actually almost dropped out from the art school. But at the time, when I was at the third grade, when I was starting to go to the fourth grade of this art school, I have actually started. I needed to join an ensemble, a band. That's the rules of the school. So the way they did it is I have actually taken a new instrument to be playing in the band. So I was playing this new instrument for a while with the band, with the people. The social factor was probably also really helpful with this. Uh, yeah, and so it kind of snowballed from there, since you probably, the present people know that I am a multi-instrumentalist, and this is really what got me into it. If it was not for this burnout experience, I would probably not branch out into the more instruments. And after I have been playing this instrument for a while, I have gone back to the accordion that I have started with, and I was actually one of the best students from that time.
That's awesome.
So burnout is sometimes really a good thing to experience.
That's
Not
awesome.
everything bad is 100% bad.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that you're totally right. Yeah, that's not to say burn yourself out so you can get creative. Not to push that narrative. Don't worry, but I think that that is very helpful and meaningful too, because it's very affirming to know that there are other things that can come out on the other side of that, again, burnout experience, and that it's not going to feel like that forever. So I really appreciate you sharing your experience. I think that's fantastic. And again, it's really nice to have someone else to bounce things off of, because that's what we usually do on this show. So it's extra appreciated. If anybody else has anything that they would like to share, any questions, feelings, thoughts, anything like that, feel free to go for it, or we'll go ahead and take it to our next segment, whatever comes first. So our next segment is we get to share updates on the Play web app. We get to share them here before anybody else hears them. This is the place to be for your exclusive, up-to-date, first peek news at what is going on Play. And if you don't know what Play is, it is an online web app that is basically musicians karaoke. You log in, you create your account, you say, I play this instrument, these instruments, and then you log on, and you're in, and it is a gigantic library of sheet music from all kinds of genres, and you can click on it, you can play your own parts, and other people will hop on and they will record their own parts as well on other instruments, and then you have a full recording of lots of different people from all across the world, all playing the same music. It is fantastic. I love it. I wouldn't be here if I didn't love it and think it was fantastic. So, these are the updates hot off the press of what we could expect to see in the coming weeks. So, and what just happened, because the first one is we just released the first part of the newly designed web app, which is super duper exciting. It has a brand new look. The organization is completely different. I think that it looks fantastic. I'm super duper pumped up about this. And there's a menu that helps you navigate super duper easily between the different types of plays, and a homepage that will showcase some of the best and most fun and interesting plays from each category. That is super exciting. I love it. I think it looks great. And some things that we can look forward to next week. The second part of the newly designed web app is going to be published. For some reason, the word that came to mind was emerge, but I didn't like that. Anyway, the Explore page is going to be much more robust because currently there's a couple of things that are still grayed out on the website. You can't click on them, but you could see that they are there. And that is going to be replacing our current system of songs and watch. It's going to be kind of an overhaul of that whole thing. And there's also going to be, as has been requested, a big brand new search bar, which is going to be great because we didn't used to need a search bar when Play was still so small and just in its beginning phases. But now we add lots and lots and lots of new arrangements every single week. So the library is a lot bigger than it used to be, and it's ever growing. So the search bar has been very badly requested, very badly wanted for quite a while, and we're really, really excited about that. And you will also be able to tag and mention people in your comments, and Play will automatically suggest the user's name as it pops up. A small change, but a good one, unimportant one. And sometime soon, either next week, this week or the next week, sometime in the next little while, there are going to be bookmarks so that users can save their favorite plays to join and so that they can find them to play for later. And that's also a very requested feature. I know that that's one that I really, really want and I'm looking forward to. So I can't wait for that. But those are the current updates on the web app, what's going to be coming soon, how it's looking right now. It's super exciting. It's going through a really, really big appearance overhaul right now, appearance and functionality overhaul. And I am so excited to see when all of these new updates come out. I think that they're going to be fantastic. And another thing as well, on a not tech standpoint, the Play t-shirt order is finally coming through. You might remember a few weeks ago, there was an option for people to order t-shirts on here, but the supply chain is so backed up and delayed right now that they weren't able to come through. So that is why we haven't seen those gorgeous, gorgeous t-shirts come out yet, was because of the supply chain at the moment. But those are going to be coming through very soon, and slightly more of them than requested are also being ordered. So if for whatever reason you missed the t-shirt order the first time, now is the time to get it in. Feel free to privately message me about that, or you can put it in one of the chats if you want to. I will probably see it, but can't guarantee it. So if you, that rhymed. Anyway, if you, sometimes the ADHD really pops out, you know what I mean? But if that is something that you're interested in and you want one of these Play t-shirts, that is how you can get one. But those are our updates for now. That is our update segment. I'm so excited. It's going to be so much fun. All right, here we go. So as you can see, we're going to be talking about Chameleon by Herbie Hancock. This is one that JC did this last week, as I said before. First off, let's go ahead and listen to it. All right, quick check. Can you guys hear this? Do you mind just unmuting and telling me if you can?
I can.
Yeah. Hours of work went into you hearing those few notes.
I can hear it.
Okay, now we'll actually listen to it. You have no idea how relieved I am. Okay, here it is. actually been a bit of a collaboration. This sheet music was submitted by Epic Creeper 102. He suggested the song and provided the transcription, and JC worked along with him to, kind of iron it out, figure out some of the finer points, fix it up a little bit for play. And here it is. There are a few small sections for solos and stuff like that. Obviously, we are only looking at the piano sheet music right now, but we're hearing the entire score, which is also going to be a feature that's coming to play soon, where you'll be able to both see and hear the entire score. You heard it here first. No, you didn't. I think that we said that in one of the chat channels. But anyway, so we're hearing the entire score. We're looking at one part, but there are some optional solos in the other parts. They're notated, everything like that. But I'm super duper excited about this one. I think that it's fantastic. I love this song, and I think that the two of them did a fantastic job of bringing it to life. And I think it's awesome. So that is our song of the week. And here we are again. And now, moving right on to our next segment, it is time for 5-minute facts. This is the one where I attempt to give you the relatively full history of a person, place, or thing from music history. It's always been composers so far, but I am perfectly open to doing other events or things in musical history. But so far we've just been doing composers, which I am not complaining about. And today we are doing Edvard Grieg, We are doing Edvard Grieg today, who was requested on the Discord. I kind of put out some feelers for who we should talk about this week. And this was the first request, so I decided to go ahead and go with this one. Now, I am going to attempt to give you his entire life story in 5 minutes or less, starting the timer. And we'll see how I do this time. Last week, I did the entire history, basically, of Shostakovich, and I had 5 seconds to spare. Now, I'm feeling pretty good about that this week. I'm riding the high of doing that within 5 minutes last week. So, without further ado, 3, 2, 1. Edvard Grieg lived from 1843 to 1907, and he was one of the main composers of the Romantic era. He came from a very musical family. He learned piano from his mother at the age of 6, much like Shostakovich from last week. And at age 15, a famous Norwegian violinist named Ole Bull recognized Grieg's talent and convinced him and his family to send him to the Leipzig Conservatory. However, Grieg disliked the structured nature of conservatory teaching, and he states that, and I quote, "I left the conservatory just as stupid as I entered it. Naturally, I did learn something there, but my individuality was still a closed book to me." I'm not entirely sure what that means, but there you have it. And Grieg survived both pleurisy and tuberculosis at age 17, but his health was permanently affected by these lung diseases. And as a result, he was admitted to several specialized hospitals throughout his life and eventually befriended the doctors who saw him, which I think is great. The 1880s were 60s, that says 60s, were a very important time for Grieg. He made his debut as a concert pianist in 1861 and lived in Denmark from 1863 to 66. And during this very critical time for him, he met several prominent Scandinavian composers, including Richard Nordraak, who is the composer of the Norwegian national anthem. I am sorry if I mispronounced that. Grieg was also quite superstitious. He kept a frog figurine in his pocket at all times and would take it out and hold it for good luck before concerts. Good for him. Grieg also, as many people did at the time, married his cousin in 1867. And in 1868, Franz Liszt wrote a recommendation that allowed Grieg a travel grant to meet Liszt in Rome. Liszt gave Grieg composition advice and sight-read Grieg's piano concerto, including the orchestral arrangement. Oh, Liszt. Grieg told him he played the first movement too fast. I can see that. Grieg was also quite a shut-in. His home, Troldhagen, was his favorite place, and he spent almost all of his time there composing in a tiny private cabin. Good for him. Grieg was also an advocate for Norwegian self-governance and was considered a major, contributor to the creation of the Norwegian, musical identity. He set many of the Norwegian poet Bjornson, texts to music. I was going to write an opera with him, but they could not stop arguing about whether the music or text should be written first, and the project fell apart. Of his own music, Grieg said that he was sure his music had a taste of codfish in it, And he once performed a private concert with his wife for Queen Victoria, and I think it was only, the wording is a little confusing. I think it was only him who received honorary doctorates from both Cambridge and Oxford. In 1903, Grieg made 9 gramophone recordings of his piano music, and these have since been reissued as both LPs and CDs. He also created several piano rolls for player pianos, all of which survive today. He also became friends with pianist and composer Percy Grainger in 1906. Grieg loved his playing, stating, "I have written Norwegian peasant dances." I'm stumbling over my words like crazy. This is not boding well. "I have written Norwegian peasant dances that no one in my country can play, and here comes this Australian who plays them as they ought to be played. He is a genius that we Scandinavians cannot do other than love." After a long period of illness, Grieg passed away in 1907. His last words were, "Well, if it must be so." His funeral drew 30 to 40,000 in his hometown, and many famous musicians performed funeral marches for him. His ashes were entombed in a mountain crypt near his house, Trollhagen, and after his wife's death, her ashes were placed alongside his. And of his famous In the Hall of the Mountain King, one of his most well-known works, Grieg wrote that it was something I literally can't bear listening to because it absolutely reeks of cow pies, exaggerated Norwegian nationalism, and trollish self-satisfaction. But I have a hunch that the irony will be discernible. So there you have it. Under 4 minutes, a somewhat complete history of Grieg. As I always say during these segments, though, consider these an introduction to this person. And if you liked this segment, if you thought that there were bits that were especially interesting, entertaining, fascinating, highly recommend Googling them yourself and learning more, because all of the things that I will say we, because I'm so used to having a co-host, all of the things that I talk about during this segment are, in my opinion, they're always fantastic. And they're always worth looking into more, because I can only help but scratch the surface in these 5 minutes. And yeah, you can only do what you can do. So that is Edvard Grieg. What a guy. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take it into our last segment here, which is the blind test. And we are going to cross our fingers that the audio works. Again, I'm sure that it will. I just have to juggle a couple things. And also, all of these ones this week do have me in it. That is not coming from a narcissistic point of view. That is coming from the point of view of the tech team still have not implemented it so that non-members of the tech team can download plays. Well, can download plays other than their own, which is going to be, a staff privilege. So we're getting there. But for this week, they all have me in them because those are the ones that I have the capacity to download. All right. So the rules of the blind test, I'm going to play for us 5 plays from the play platform, and whoever can name either the title of the piece or the composer is going to get a point. And the prize for the blind test game, it is brand new. We've only offered this for 1 week, but the prize is that you get to request any song to be put onto the play platform. We're super excited about it. I think it's awesome. But let's go ahead. We're going to start the first one. You can feel free to just unmute and shout it out if you can think of the title or the composer or anything like that. Or you could type it if you are really, really, really fast. So here we go. I'm going to, with any luck, I'm going to share the first one here. Let's just share this one. All right. You should be able to hear this audio. Moi je viens d'un pays qui ne connaît pas la pluie, où les caravanes rêvent des flammes. Go ahead and shout it out when you know it. Se mélangent, se côtoient, mais c'est étrange, mais c'est chez moi.
Arabian Nights.
Oh, you got it! We'll listen to the full thing nonetheless, but good one.
It's interesting how Flora actually sang the lyrics to this.
I know, she sang the French ones. Isn't that great?
From France, after.
Yeah, makes sense, right? All right, so as as was guessed here already, that was Arabian Nights by Alan Menken, and that was played by Floor, myself, and at Dusty McMusty. And for that one, there are other parts available. There are other parts that can be filled in. As always, any play that you see here on the blind tests can always be added to. So that is that one. Blind test number 2. Here we go.
Megalovania.
Ah! That's 2! You got 2 points. Alright, so as was guessed, that one is Megalovania by Toby Fox, and that one was played by, once again, myself at J.A. Perez, composer. I don't remember what his specific, I know that that's his Discord username, but I don't have his Jellynote user in front of me, forgive me, at Ryan Piggy, and I think that is at Varan Bose on drums. I'm not exactly sure. Again, I didn't get the names for this one specifically, and it's taking a million years to load on my phone. So my apologies if I did not get the username exactly correct, or if I did not identify the correct person. Many apologies. You all did fantastic in this one, and I think that the drum set adds so much. So now let's go ahead and do the next one here.
Seven Nation Army.
Oh, I'm gonna give that to both of you. I think you both said it at the exact same time.
That's a classic.
I know, it's such a nice one, right?
I love the drum set.
Thank you. I'm very proud of it. Paid a lot of money for it. I don't remember how much that case cost, if anything. I think it came with one of my violins.
Drum set case.
Yeah, right? I think in this part you can hear the strings of the violin inside ringing. Or I can hear it because I heard it when I was doing it in person. It's totally safe. It's the electric, so you can't really mess it up too bad. So, as was already guessed, that was Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes, and that was by myself and at Leandro Ferreira bass. Fantastic bassist, wonderful, wonderful. And let's go ahead and get this next one. All right, here we go.
The other one by Fairy Tale.
What was it? I don't think that was it. Yeah, I think Ariana.
From Pinocchio it is.
I think I have to give it to Ariana. I think she identified it first. That was When You Wish Upon a Star by Lee Harline.
Did that before the last Playground episode.
Shh, nobody needs to know.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. That one, it's just a rerun. It's just a test. It's just to really test your knowledge and see if you're retaining things from episode to episode. No, I'm
yes,
totally
ma'am.
kidding. Totally kidding. Okay, one more. Just a moment. It is, let's see, and Timza, you have 3 points, and Ariana, you have 2. So Ariana, you could at least tie. And here is the last one.
I don't know the name.
What's that?
It's yours. I don't know the name of this song. Rasputin, I know it. Yes.
Oh, you got it! Good one!
It's supposed to be a Russian type of song, right?
I think so, although, what's the story of this one? It's a song about
It's
a
a
Russian
parody.
guy who was written by a very non-Russian band in a... I don't remember.
It's an extreme parody.
There you go.
If it's a parody, then where's the original?
the man Rasputin, probably. But anyway, that is... I'll actually take a second. I'm just hoping that this is one that they'll be easily able to cut up in post, because this is definitely not the smoothest. Anyway, that was our blind test for the day. And Timza 8, you have finally dethroned Ariana the violinist. After Ariana, what was it? Was it like 2 or 3 weeks in a row?
It's three.
Yeah, after almost a month of always winning the blind test, she has been dethroned, although it was very, very, very close. So
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
I won by 2
fine
points.
with
I mean, this
everyone
was not
getting a
close.
chance.
yeah, go ahead and rub it in. So, by being the winner of the
Timza?
blind test, you get to choose any song that you want, and an arrangement will pop up on play. We can chat about that after the show. But anyway, that is the end of our show for today. And as you might know, if you've seen these before, in the after show, we hang out here on Discord. For the YouTube show, we cut it here. But if you want to come to the live tapings, and you get to see how the sausage is made, to use the colloquial phrase, we always hang out here after the show. So thank you so much to everybody for watching. It's always lovely to do these. It's always a ton of fun. So I hope that you all have a fantastic week, and I'll see you at the next Playground recording. Take care.